Good morning, we're getting call our meeting to order. Today's Tuesday, March the 10th, 9 o'clock in the morning. We're at the Public Works Building. And we're going to have an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Staff, please. Tammy.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so very grateful for this day that you have made for us. We will rejoice and we will be glad in it. We thank you for the many blessings that you've given us. Help us to never take for granted, Father, our health, our friends, our family, our faith. Thank you, Father, for the city of Mexico Beach. I pray for the council today, Father, that you give them wisdom and knowledge in making the best decisions for our city. Father, today I lift up our nation. I pray for our president and our administration. I pray as well that you give them wisdom and knowledge to help them lead the country, Father, the best way that they can, Father. I thank you for peace, Father. I pray for our military. Pray for that your hand will be upon our military and cover them. I pray for a hedge of protection around our military. And those troops that have just recently lost their lives, I lift up their families today as well, Father. We know that you are our comforter, you are our strength, that you are our peace, and you are our help in times of trouble. We thank you, Lord, that we can depend on you because you are our hope. Thank you for these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that prayer, Ms. Tammy. Might take the roll, please.
Mr. Fasagi?
Here.
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Cox is excused today. Mayor Wolf?
Here. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is the consent agenda of February the 10th. The council reviewed it. There's been a small change, you haven't noted that. It's in yellow also. Minutes accepted?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, first thing on our regular agenda, the infrastructure maintenance of Casuna. Mr. Mel?
Thank you, Your Honor. We've been talking about the infrastructure maintenance for Casuna subdivision for quite some time now. So rather than me simply reading the abstract and going over the details, we all pretty much know the details at this point. So I'd recommend to the mayor to go ahead and allow a public discussion.
Casuna, anybody here to speak on Casuna? Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tim Linderman. I'm not on the board at Casuna, but I am a resident there, and I've been asked to provide a few comments. Our board president, Carolyn Kerr, is here, and our TAM, Adrian Weller, is here. I wanted to give this to you. This is all of our covenants and changes, because Mel had brought up some questions on that. I just wanted to address something on that. This is a map of 15th Street, and I just want to quickly discuss the sidewalks on 15th Street. Also, this is kind of a synopsis of the plat and what it says in the covenants for you guys. We'll go over that real quick if you'll allow me. And then lastly, this is the copy out of the Bay County GIS. It shows the utilities, including the stormwater area, since that came up as a question. Sorry for all the slides.
All right, you got through it. You get through it.
Oops, sir. So I think I'm-
Got it?
Yes. All right, so I wanted to start with the packet from Mel and the background information, just to address a couple of those real quick, if that's all right with
Go
you.
ahead.
So, first one is the dedication language. I don't think there's any disagreement that on the plat, it's from 2004, that the developer, let me make that clear, the developer dedicated for the, what's called the association. Everything was dedicated, the roads, the streets, right-of-ways, the natural buffer, lift station, water, sanitary sewer, utility easements, and the stormwater management area. And I highlight the stormwater management area because that's, I think, a question that's come up. The second thing is I believe it's acknowledged that 4 of the 5 councilmen did sign the plat, and there's a note in Mel's packet here that says, however, a separate council action accepting responsibility did not take place. I believe it's more correct to say we can't find anything that says, unless, you can correct me, Tammy or Julie, if you guys were able to find any 2004 meeting notes, council notes. My research, I couldn't come up with anything. So that may be true, but I don't think we can say for sure that it didn't take place because we just don't have the information. The next item is the stormwater management area is the same parcel as the clubhouse. And we are asking you to take over the stormwater management area, where the water goes from the stormwater. So we are willing, if you're willing to accept that, to request a lot split. It is not our intent to give the clubhouse and pool area to the city. So just to be clear on that. The next item is the owner of the stormwater permit is still unclear. So personally, Mr. Sloan, I'm not sure what the significance of it is. I believe in everything I've seen with the city for approving PUDs and developments, that it's always the developer who gets the permit, all the stormwater, everything else, and that later that may be given to the city. But unless the city is developing it, I don't believe the permit would go to the city. So I'm not sure what the relevance of that is, and you can address that later, I guess. And then lastly, Mel pointed out that the casino.
It'd be fair if you not use me as a scapegoat in this.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mel. I'm not trying to use you as a scapegoat.
We just did. Okay.
All right. So what it says on this document from the staff, I believe, is that the declarations of covenants lists some things, the lighting easements, right-of-way, water irrigation, stormwater, as the association's responsibility. And what I've given the mayor there is, in May of 2024, the Homeowners Association of Casuna changed or revised its covenants, and the Article 6, which I've highlighted, no longer says that. It reads differently. So my belief is, when these covenants in 2004 were written and that was stated, that was the developer statement, not necessarily the homeowners association, even though it took us till 2024 to modify that. But we did modify that. No longer does it state that as a responsibility. All right. So to recap, I think everybody understands, but I just want to recap it. What the Casuna Homeowners Association is asking for is for the city to acknowledge what we believe they've already assumed, and that's responsibility for the right-of-ways, the sidewalks, our stormwater, our sewer system, the roads, utility easements, and we've also asked that you assume the lighting. The lift station was acknowledged to be formerly part of the city when Doug Baber was here, and he was surprised that the HOA was paying the electric bills for that up until about 2019 maybe, when we brought it to his attention. And I just want to point out something. I saw Anchor's estimate on repair of the sidewalks. And a couple things I want to point out. That document that shows 15th Street in the sidewalks, 15th Street sidewalks are in the city's right of way. And so whatever you decide, I believe that 15th Street should not be included in the cost to repair Kasuna's sidewalks. That's the city's sidewalks, and they're in the city's right of way. The city required Kasuna to put those sidewalks in as part of the development order. Also, as part of the development order, I am told, I don't have any proof of this, but I believe it's correct, that the city required Kasuna to put sidewalks in prior to any building taking place. And that's important because a lot of our sidewalk damage has occurred as builders come in and drive over the sidewalk. It's kind of unusual to put sidewalks in before the building's complete, in my experience, but that's what took place. Additionally, there's some sidewalk repair on one of the cul-de-sacs that, based on information from people who live on that area, the damage was caused after the hurricane when FEMA and other emergency assets set up down there, and they damaged the sidewalk and no repair was ever completed of it. So that's and I do believe our sidewalks are in the right of way, which belongs to the city and should be taken over by the city. We've discussed streetlights. We have streetlights in the facility. We pay approximately $7,300 a year for the electricity in the streetlights. The lights have been converted to LED, and even though I know we have more streetlights probably than anyone in the city, I don't believe anywhere else in the city do the residents pay specifically or individually for the streetlights. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I'll just say Ocean Plantation.
The city pays for them?
No, the Ocean Plantation HOA.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. So, a couple of quick things. The GIS map that shows the utilities, I want to note that our stormwater system is both on the street where water collects, and it's gravity fed to that catchment basin, and in between some of the homes. And I don't know if that was clear. I know that Anchor didn't look at the stormwater drainage system, I believe, as part of their assessment. It's a pretty cut and dry system. I would imagine Garrity's guys could look at it and tell you, but it's a pretty simple system. We've had no major issues with it that I'm aware of, other than maybe a couple times it's some areas plugged up with debris. Sorry, what was the other thing I gave you there? Oh, so that's just a synopsis that shows you the slide with what the plat says, the dates it was signed, and what the change in the covenants are for your information. Any questions from the council of me?
I think we're gonna go ahead and let the audience speak,
Okay,
if there's anybody else.
all right. Thank you very much. And Mel, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it sound like I was blaming you or anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience on Casuna? Is that it? We'll go ahead and close that and move to the table. Any comments from the table?
I wasn't aware that the city had more or less forced Casuna to put the sidewalks in. I thought that was their choice, so, because I was gonna argue the point that why should we pay the 20,000 in repairs? We don't have sidewalks throughout the city, and if we're paying for that, what if another street says, well, we want sidewalks, well, you're paying for Casuna? So I was not aware that the city had forced them more or less to have the sidewalks. I do kind of have concerns too about why we're paying $7,300 a year for the street lights, because, you know, once again, I'm assuming that was their choice to have the street lights. We don't have street lights throughout the city, you know, so does that open a suggestion to other people can say, well, we want street lights on our street now too, so the city can pay for them. So I think oftentimes any decisions that we make, we have to think about the repercussions and what might become of that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on the sidewalks that are inside of Casuna. I could go either way on that. I see advantages and disadvantages to the city as well as the HOA. I do think the city should cover the repair costs for the sidewalk portion along 15th Street, because that is in the city right away. I guess I do have a question for the HOA. What happens to the HOA and specifically the membership dues if the city takes over these costs?
So, I'll take the answer for the board. Right now, there is no fund designated to repair the sidewalks, so it would impact the dues in no way. What normally occurs when there's a major repair required, the HOA will vote on special assessment, and that's how it's handled. So it would not affect the dues, but there might be a special assessment.
Right, all right, so I think you've answered my question. So I don't know that I'm for the city assuming the $7,300 a year for the streetlights. I think that's an HOA decision. It's an HOA privilege. They want to keep them. They're already paying for them. But I could be convinced if there's a compelling case for the city to cover the in-neighborhood sidewalk repair. I think $20,000 is reasonable, given Mr. Linderman's explanation of how much of the damage occurred. I have no reason to disbelieve that a lot of that happened from the storm. We live in the HOA next door, and I remember during Hurricane Michael, during that immediate aftermath, FEMA had parked their trailers and their flashing blue lights that were going 24/7 at the end of the first street. Is that St. Christopher? They were there for a month, and I don't doubt that that FEMA did some damage, at least in that section of the HOA. So I guess those are my thoughts.
Some of my thoughts, the first thing was, I've always, the lighting, and only because the amount of lighting in there, it's not your average street lighting, I would call it. So that brought up, I don't know what the attorney's gonna say on that. The lighting isn't right away. I would like some clarity on that. I really don't think the city should assume that much responsibility on the lighting. The 20,000, the repairs, we don't know if hopefully it could be less, but I'm gonna fall back. The attorney, there's only been he's the one that brought it up about where they turned over property.
Yeah.
I hate to see them have to pay it, but I don't wanna see the city have to pay it either. So we need a clarification on how that was turned over. And one thing I just seen that caught me, and this may be just a technical, but we always go back to this dedication. And it does say the dedication to the city, but then the association says they're responsible for the maintenance. So is that in dedicating the right of ways in the stormwater, but is this saying Casuna is still responsible for the maintenance of them?
Can I respond there?
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, the dedication, I think there may be some confusion about how it's being read. The dedication to the city was road, streets, rights of way, 30-foot natural buffer, lift station, water, sanitary sewer, utility easements, and stormwater management as shown hereon for the uses and purposes stated, and also granting a non-exclusive easement to the areas depicted as utility easements. And of course, the plat is difficult to read. But beyond that, we did research to see if we could figure out who pulled the stormwater permit. And I'm gonna focus on stormwater for just a minute. And we could not, because it was not available for us to find out who pulled it. However, there is a deed from the developer, Casuna Inc., to the Casuna Subdivision Homeowners Association Inc., and that deed is recorded in the official records of Bay County that purports to convey the stormwater management and amenity area shown on the plat of Casuna Subdivision, and then it talks about where it's recorded. So that deed, which was recorded back, let's see, it was recorded at book 3089, page 1225 on 9/23/2008. Okay, so that would indicate to me that the intent of the developer at the time was to convey the stormwater management system to the subdivision. Now, with respect to, and so let me then move to your question about the sidewalks and also the lighting. Lighting is not indicated in this dedication, and so the argument can be made from the city's perspective that we didn't know you were putting lighting in, and that's not something that we agreed to assume by virtue of the dedication. Now, what's within the right-of-way, again, it's a two-step process. You have the dedication, and then you have the acceptance. Okay, we've talked about that in previous meetings. The dedication was done, but there was no acceptance, and here we are, 14, 24 years later, talking about acceptance. So the right-of-way is depicted on the plat, and so the argument from their side is, wait a minute, the city had us put sidewalks in within the right-of-way, and therefore you agreed to accept the right-of-way, or you will agree at some point to accept the right-of-way, and you should get the sidewalks too, because you made us put those in. That's their argument. The strict reading of the dedication does not really go into anything other than roads, streets, and rights of way. It doesn't talk about sidewalks. So the city's position could be, well, we had to put them in because that's a requirement in our LDC. However, that's not something that was dedicated to us, and that's not something that we're going to agree to assume the maintenance responsibility for. However, if you do that, then there's a question of, okay, what does that do for the sidewalks? Because they are within the right of way. Okay. And then the last, of course, would be the lighting. And the lighting would be not discussed in the dedication. It is silent on the lighting, and that's, I think, a position for the city to decide. The 15th Street that you talked about, Mr. Fasagi, if it's already within the city's right-of-way and the city is maintaining that area on 15th Street, then I would assume the sidewalks would be included.
What's, I guess, my opinion, what's the goal of the HOA? Why are you guys looking at this? Is it a financial situation, or is it a maintenance situation that you just can't handle, want to turn over? What's your goal?
So our goal is to have the city assume responsibility that we think is their responsibility. And I know that this has been addressed in the past a few times. I am not a founding member of this association. We've been here 5 years. But I know we have talked about the right of way, and I've heard varying stories, and I don't have any hard proof from different board presidents. That at one time, the city mowed the right of way and the stormwater area. And I'm told because of the unsatisfactory work that was done, and that's not my opinion, I don't have any opinion on that the HOA decided to do it themselves. The sidewalks we have recognized need repair, and ever since I've been here, we've been trying to get the city to either assume them or make a statement, but we believe based on the dedication statement that is taken over by the city. So is it a financial?
That was taken over by the city. What was taken over by the city?
The streets, rights of ways, in the dedication, sidewalks, everything that's in that dedication statement. That's our opinion. Now, are we in financial straits? No, it's got nothing to do with that. Do we have funding to repair the sidewalks? No, we would have to do a special assessment for each of the members, or the landowners and the property owners of that area. You brought up why did we wait so long? I don't think we've waited so long. I think this has been an ongoing question.
Signed in 2004?
Yeah, but I think, Mayor, it's been an ongoing question as long as I've been here, because I know I worked with Doug Baber, and when I found out the HOA was paying the electricity for the lift station, I asked if that, I'm not familiar, wasn't familiar with Florida rules, and I was told, no, we shouldn't have been doing that. They couldn't refund us for all the time we paid for the lift station electricity, but that shouldn't have been ours to pay with. And so I think it just goes back to, we're just trying to get the city to assume responsibility for what we believe is your responsibility. And it's got nothing to do, well, of course it has to do with finances, because then we would all have to put in some money. And if that's the decision, I think the city needs to extract a 15th Street sidewalk repair cost from that. But we cannot make, the people that are here, cannot agree to any amount if that was the decision of the council. But if the council's in agreement to assume responsibility for whatever, I would request that you vote today with the contingency of whatever else, and then we could take that to the board, because this has gone on for a long time.
Has the HOA discussed anything about maybe splitting cost or to get it all going and and start at zero?
No, because we hold board meetings a couple times a year, and we have, well, I wasn't at the last one, so I can't answer that. Was it discussed at the last board meeting?
No.
Okay. So no, we would have to go back and present it to the membership in our next meeting, or call a special meeting.
Can I comment too? Yeah. So to try to simplify, we agree, I say we, it's been here at this table, that the streets and the right of ways will be dedicated to the city. We understand that. So what we've run into is now we got the repair cost of the sidewalk, so there's this question of, was it turned over in the right process? And then we got the lighting. And then the stormwater popped up the last few meetings. That wasn't on the meetings before, but because of this. So I see we've got these three items. not, the roads we know, but we can't take the roads and get this finished until we come to an agreement on the repairs, the lighting, and do we have to take the stormwater facility? So that's, I'm
So
just trying to
can-
get
can
this
I-
thing condensed.
Yeah, the city's already made a commitment. I mean, we made almost a $10,000 commitment in doing the assessment alone. So I think we realize what's going on here. And I we've talked about this before with the attorney. I agree with this. I have no problem with it taking over the streets. I, like the council, have some issue with lighting and the sidewalks repairs. That's my two areas, and I think that if we can come to an agreement on that, I think you probably have a council that could agree
Yeah.
to get this moving forward.
So can I address a couple things that you've asked? So let's talk about the stormwater. I think you need to separate the grassy field, the stormwater catchment area, from the drainage system. So within the right of way in the HOA are the stormwater lines. I think the city should accept that. The question is, I think on the stormwater catchment area and and what would need to be done on that area if the city assumed it would be the mowing of it a couple times a year. So whatever your decision is, I want to make sure that you understand we have where the water goes to in a heavy rain flooding system is a catchment center, and the lines that drain into it. In the city owns, correct me if I'm wrong, the stormwater lines and the drains. Am I incorrect on that? We're asking for the same thing.
Is that the white line here?
It's these blue lines here, and what's not depicted on the GIS is in the streets, there are drains that go, everything flows into this blue area here. Okay,
But this blue area is HOA easement, right?
yes. And it's just a field, it's low ground, that's where water goes to. And
Your goal is to have us take it over. How we do it, I guess,
We would-
appreciate your input, but it's fine.
but I just want to make sure that you separate the two. If the decision is not to take over the drainage area, I just want to be clear that, does that mean you're not taking the whole drainage system that goes into that, which is in the easements, and is a normal street, a normal city responsibility?
So I can answer, I mean, I can answer.
We've had that conversation. I mean, the city administrator's had that conversation. I believe that he's in agreement with what you're saying.
Okay.
All right.
And then the sidewalks. I agree with
Let
what,
me just see what Eric had then.
Yeah, I guess, let me be clear. You're asking the city to take over ownership or ownership and maintenance of the blue area here, which is the HOA owned drainage.
well, I don't know how that works. If the city would then have ownership of it, is that
So-
what would take place?
You've
Mr.
given
Sloan?
me your answer. You're not clear as to what you're asking for maintenance. You just want the city to maintain ownership of the blue area. So the blue area, 7 months out of the year, has to get mowed. So I'm just asking.
It gets
if-
mowed, twice a year. That's the only maintenance that's required.
Fair enough, but it needs to be mowed. And
Yes.
so you're asking if this is the question. Are you asking the city to mow that area if it takes over ownership, or are you asking just take over ownership and we'll figure out the mow?
No, I think we're asking, and I'll have to refer to the board member, I think we're asking for the city to maintain it.
The city would maintain
The
it
mowing it.
on a basis, so that we have to get the overall done.
Right,
Everything has to be done, that's part of it,
that's what I'm asking.
I have a question.
for the sewer system,
Attorney, whenever you're.
and drainage, when you're ready, guys.
Historically, Tim, on new subdivisions, just one historic, I know what's written here, is stormwater turned over to municipalities?
I would say traditionally, the stormwater system is a homeowners association
That's what I was.
responsibility, and typically what I would recommend in going forward in the future, if you have developers who want to plat a subdivision, would be that the city would take, and I'll call it a backup easement, in the event that the homeowners association doesn't do what they're supposed to, and there's flooding involved, then the city would have an easement to go in and fix it, and then back charge the owners if they had to do that. But typically, it would be a homeowners association.
Well, and that's one of my questions. I mean, simply mowing it is not a very big expense. But if if the city takes ownership, then it becomes a liability.
It becomes a liability if it's not mowed, but it
Well,
becomes a
in
liability.
anything,
That's right.
it's.
Well, if
just
it's stopping
becomes a-
something else from doing it, being able to do what it's supposed to do, we're gonna take care of it.
Right.
We'll go back up to-
I have one more question for Mr. Sloan about
Yes, sir.
sidewalks. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I thought I heard you say one of two, or maybe two things about the sidewalks. Are the sidewalks within the city right of way if the city takes over ownership and maintenance of the streets? Is that
Well,
a case to be made?
based upon this GIS drawing, it appears that the sidewalks, or at least some of the sidewalks, are within the right of way. Now, all I know about the sidewalks is at some point in time, the city forced the sidewalks to be put in because you have an LDC requirement that says you have sidewalks.
So,
But based on this one drawing, I don't know, I can't say that without a survey if every sidewalk is
Right.
contained within the right.
So then the other thing you said about sidewalks has to do with Mr. Linderman's, this one here, where it quotes the language in the original plat or the deed, or what is the underlying segment here it looks like it's in the dedication, July 14th, 2004. What does the underlying segment have to say about sidewalks? Because I don't see sidewalks mentioned. I see right of way, I see streets.
It's not mentioned.
It's just sidewalks.
Correct. And in a perfect world, if the intent was that in the dedication to accept sidewalks, in a perfect world, I would hope that sidewalks would be described in the dedication.
So I mentioned earlier that I'm on the fence with the sidewalks within the Casuna subdivision, separate from the 15th Street sidewalks. But now I think if the city's going to accept responsibility, or if the city's going to assume the ownership of the streets and the right-of-way, then I think the city assumes ownership and responsibility for the sidewalks.
The city has and always has owned the roads in Casuna. They are not private roads. They've always been yours. They are yours currently. That's not even on our request because they're your roads. But I think the right-of-way is yours too for 60 feet per the plat.
Right.
That's, there's no discussion, in my opinion. My board may disagree that we should even be talking about sidewalks because I don't think they've ever been ours.
Well, we think that, but the question on that is, excuse me, I'm sorry, is the bringing them up to to par, because that's where we're at.
And I would argue that's neglect by the city of their sidewalks that
But
have
our
always been
attorney
there.
says there was a process missing, and do we have a leg to stand on?
In a typical scenario, Mr. Adams, you would have the developer coming in, talking to the city, working out the dedication language, and then the developer has to put in the sidewalks. And then once the sidewalks were up to city standards, at that point in time, then the city would assume it. Now the developer's gone. We're long past the developer. And so if the city is inclined to accept the sidewalks for maintenance purposes, then it could request the same of the homeowners association, because now they're really kind of standing in the shoes of the developer, to bring them up to whatever the city standards are.
But our argument, as Mr. Rowley has stated, for the sidewalks, is they've always belonged to the city, and it's not due, we've tried to maintain them, especially when a builder comes in and damages, and we require them to repair it. But some of the, just the, 24 years of soil shifting, et cetera, the sidewalks need some repair. And our belief is that's always been the city's responsibility.
Okay.
So Mayor, how do we, I mean,
Well,
there's three different items and it's like we're trying to get this down the road, so. Do we vote on
Yeah,
different,
one of the
like,
things-
sidewalks, the lighting?
I think the easiest one to take care of is the lighting. I mean, I live in a tract that doesn't have lighting. I mean, if you guys choose to have lighting, pay for it. I mean, that's my opinion.
That's my opinion.
Can I address something real quick on the street lighting?
Thought maybe you wanted to.
So, we have, I think, my understanding is for years, Casuna has been the exception to most of the layout. We were the only real subdivision for a long time in the city. And so there is no, we're not typical of the lighting that takes place. The city does pay for lighting along 98, a lot of the streets in the area, but there isn't another subdivision like us. So my argument would be we're different, and my understanding is in the future, what is the city doing for the St. Joe building, some of the future PUDs that are being presented? Are they going to put in lighting, cover the lighting? So I guess our argument is we're not typical. We have what's normally found in most cities.
All of Salt Creek, St. Joe, they don't have any lighting. They're thinking about putting it in, but they're doing it as an HOA.
That's my input, to address that. Okay. Any other questions?
No, I had one that just came up and we can keep going down the hole on the sidewalks. I remember now back when Casuna was developed, that you just said undermining of dirt and things, but we probably won't know this, when were those sidewalks put in, because I remember Casuna was a big hole, and you wouldn't know this, but back in the day, in the middle, and the developer had to come in and fill that hole. It was about 2 or 3 feet deep.
Yeah.
And there used to be a lot of pines in Casuna in the middle. So I'm just wondering if those sidewalks were put in 2004? Or they put in more after that?
I can't answer
We could
that.
keep,
But I have been told by the previous board presidents and by the Hobbses, who were part of the original developer, that the city required Casuna to install the sidewalks as part of the agreement, including 15th Street.
yeah, there was something
And-
that.
And I don't know if that was in the LDC at the time or if it's in the LDC at this time, because Ocean Plantation doesn't have sidewalks. So if that was a requirement as part of the LDC, then,
Well, they're private.
but, okay. So I don't know. I just know that I'm told we were required by the city for approval of that development to put in sidewalks.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that we need to get to a point that, do we want to take over the streets and sidewalks in Casuna? I think it's pretty much settled at the table that maybe do we want to ask the HOA to get together and see if they're willing to pay their own lighting? Is that true?
Here, just real quick, sorry, Mayor, in the LDC, may not mean anything, but under the sidewalk portion, that was not, and it was more, sidewalk shall be included in the plan of all new construction parcels located, this is just on 15th Street and 7th Street, with corresponding with FDOC dated October 30th, 06.
And this was 04.
But it doesn't say, yeah.
Yeah, and
'Cause I know the 15th Street one was put in after, kind of after the fact.
And I think one thing as a city, we have to, if we haven't done this, Mel, I think we need to confirm what part of the sewer and maintenance we're gonna take. Hopefully, I would assume what Mr. Lindeman went over, it'd be everything,
You said sewer, you mean stormwater?
stormwater, I'm sorry, yeah, everything. We'll identify that, I guess, in writing
Okay.
or drawing. Maybe using this type of drawing. So we could do that, see that's acceptable, is that good?
And we'd have to, on that note, if we start to take ownership, I mean, somebody's gonna have to do a survey, and that's gonna have to be obviously deeded to us in the proper,
Are you talking stormwater?
yeah, because I'm hearing taking stormwater, and
Yeah, I agree.
we don't know if that's on file, or, I mean, we got a picture of a,
Yeah,
This thing.
we should verify before we fund the study, but yeah, the study needs to be done.
Okay, so stormwater and sidewalks and streets.
Yes.
Is there anything we want to ask the HOA to do with the sidewalks? Do we
Wondered
want
if,
to ask for them to update them? Do we want to ask them to split costs? What do we want to do?
I'm thinking, maybe we can ask them to split the cost, because that probably does increase the property value of their homes within that subdivision. You know, we don't have that throughout the whole city.
Let me ask you, you gave the suggestions of the repairs. The suggestions of the repairs, is there a timeline on the repairs? Is this something that, is there a requirement over 2 inches, 3 inches, 1 inch that has to be done?
Yep, our study identified any vertical changes greater than a quarter inch. But you could also just go through and for some of the smaller ones, most of them were larger. If you looked at the report, most of them were closer to 1 inch, greater than a ½ inch. There were some that were smaller. You could potentially, I did read in some of the DOT and sidewalk, I don't know, articles I was reading about this, and it said that on some of the smaller ones, you could just bevel it too, which could reduce the cost, and then you wouldn't have that immediate, kind of trip there. And so, but there's no timeline that I know
So there's
of.
some work that can be done, it's not immediate.
Right, and no, it's not, no, there's no timeline on it.
All right.
one other thing. I was in Mal's office, and it was discussed if we, because I want them to pay as little as possible in the city, whoever's gonna do this, so it's not, but Mel's we kind of threw around, the city might could do the repairs on the sidewalk. I mean, is that something or should we hire an outside firm to just do them all at once, or is it, to help with this cost? You said in the winter, obviously it wouldn't be in the summer, but we may have downtime that we could go out.
I think if we're gonna assume the city, streets and right of way, we should assume the cost of the repairs. They're not unreasonable. Whether we do it or we contract it out, I think is a fine discussion to have. I would think our city folks, I'm looking the same, I would think our city folks could do something, like they're qualified to do something like this.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just asking, we can sort all that out. We're asking the HOA to go back and ask their people, their owners, to number one, take over the lighting, and number two, assess their split of the repairs. Is that true?
Yes.
That'd be-
And other than that, we would be okay moving forward on everything else?
I wish I could find a way to yes for the lights, but there's nothing anywhere.
So y'all are,
that says the
you're
lights.
moving in the direction of,
I
you
don't-
talked to Mel on this stormwater, I mean, we're just gonna, and it says in the.
No, I think we can get more information from the city administrator and Garrett to see what has to be done.
Just a quick comment if I could. At this point, no one knows anything about the stormwater permit, except that it was taken from the developer to the HOA a number of years ago. So if we were to take ownership of that, I think it'd be incumbent on the HOA to dig out that permit and have them go to the trouble of getting that transferred to us. And also, even though the GIS map may say that the stormwater area is separate from the amenities, unless the property appraisers change their map from last week, they say that the amenity and the stormwater is all in the same parcel, even though there is a dotted line there. So, but they both got the same parcel number. So it'd be incumbent upon us making the HOA clear that up so they can give that to us as a separate.
Right. That would take a survey and a deed to the city on that part of it. And since they were technically deeded stormwater management in that 2008 deed.
So my first thing was, I mean, I wasn't too keen on taking the stormwater. I mean, unless this dedication says here, unless we're legally bound, I wasn't so keen on taking the stormwater, but.
Again, it's a two-step process. They have to dedicate it and you have to accept it. And then actually it's a three-step because then you have to agree to maintain it.
Yeah, well, all it has to do, I mean, that's one of the things we're throwing out there, is just something we want them to, we want to take over or not. I would say, my opinion is yes.
I don't see why we as a city would not assume over proper legally deeded ownership of stormwater. That's what we do. We're the city.
It could impact other areas. I think the answer needs to come from the HOA on the lighting and the split on the sidewalks. Other than that, I think that bring those back, I think the council can make a decision on which way they want to go. Yes, sir.
So can I ask for clarification? Because the estimated $20,000 includes 15th Street, and I don't know how much of that, or if Anchor's able to determine that, includes 15th Street, which there's no doubt in my mind, we shouldn't be paying for the city right away repair.
I agree.
No problem.
Right.
Get and sort that out.
And now you're asking us to say how much we'll pay for it. Again, I think on the sidewalks, we don't believe that's our bill. That has been the city's responsibility for the last 24 years. And so I mean, it's not my decision. The board can take it to the membership and ask.
So, Mr. Sloan, is that true? That this has been the city's responsibility for these sidewalks unbeknownst to us for the last 24 years?
If the city didn't do step 2 and step 3, then all you have is the bare dedication. You have to be accepted, and then you have to ultimately agree to do the maintenance on it.
So it's like me handing something to somebody, but they don't accept it, so the handoff never occurred. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the handoff was attempted, but it did not come to fruition.
And my point is, had this been done correctly, we don't know what, we don't have any record on what, how this should have occurred is the city or the HOA, I believe Mr. Sloan said, would have a period, or the developer would have a period of a couple of years to maintain this warranty of it. And then if the city accepted it at that point. The problem is, this has taken so long to get before the council, I believe, that the maintenance, even though it's been maintained, is not to the maintenance level it needs to be for safety requirements.
Well, I'm not sure it's been, your comment, maintained over the last 24 years. If we've got a...
We have maintained the damage that's been done by
I asked, did they have any, last time we met, did they have any repair assessment that they've done in the past? Is there a budget for that, or what you doing? I have no answer.
What I'm saying, Mayor, is when someone comes in to build in Casuna, they're required to put down a damage deposit. And part of that is if they damage the sidewalk, then we hold them accountable to repair that, to get their deposit back. to my knowledge, we've only had one case of anybody pushing back on that. So when I say maintaining or repair, that's what I'm talking about. But I don't believe, I would ask the council to assume responsibility for the sidewalk repair.
And the council's asking you to split it with them, the cost to get it up to par.
And what is
That's
that,
where we're at.
and what is that amount?
Well,
Well, we have an assessment of 20,000, but I believe it's probably less than that.
Because we're taking out 15th Street.
Right.
So,
I think the mayor was saying if you just take it back to your board and ask them. I mean, and take the, y'all may come back and say we're not doing anything, you may come back and say we're only gonna pay $5,000, you may say we're
And
gonna
I'm
pay
asking
half.
what that amount is.
Yeah, we don't,
we're asking you to tell us what the,
But
Right
they
now-
need to know the amount.
yeah.
Anchor needs to tell them what the amount.
Right now, it's assessed at somewhere around 20,000, but in conversation without 15th Street, and maybe there's some of them don't have to be repaired right away, that could be a lot less. I'm sure Elizabeth can look at that for us and give us a number.
Okay.
I would imagine it's less than $10,000, I would say.
All right, thank you.
We have direction?
I have a question for Elizabeth. When you came up with the figure of 20,000, was that assuming that the city workers would repair it, or would it be an outside?
Those were based on contractor costs that
A
we've seen in the
contractor
past.
cost, okay, thank you.
Okay, we have direction at the table, we'll get move on to the next subject, we close this. Next thing on the agenda is a boat ramp expansion amendment. Mr. Mel?
Thank you, Your Honor. We do have Elizabeth and Emily here to explain, the adjustment in the amendment to the agreement. So rather than me yak about it, I'd like for them to come up and explain that to the city council.
Okay.
Good morning. Emily Thomas, Anchor CEI. You have the FWC amendment in front of you. Basically, we went in and we put together a draft, changed the amendment to represent the changes needed to the drawings. We've got 3 different deliverables in the amendment that align with the different phases of the construction project. The first phase being the north side of the boat ramp, which would be the seawall replacement repairs. The second phase of the amendment and the drawings is the expansion to the boat ramp, and then the third phase would be the south side of the boat ramp, the seawall repairs. And so FWC asked us to put together this draft amendment to reflect the changes that were being done to the design, and now they're just looking for the city to review it and approve it so we can move forward.
Okay, we're getting open to the public on the boat ramp. Any comments? Didn't close the public, move to the table. I guess my first question is, we've been sometimes caught by grant timing. Are we in a grant timing problem here? Do we have one that, is there a window we need to work on?
A part of the agreement is to extend it to June of 2027.
Question whenever you're done, Mayor.
So that would give time for bidding, procurement, and then the contractor to get on board and get it.
Projected costs haven't changed over the last 8 months.
The grant cost, or?
Yeah.
The grant amount is the same,
Okay,
but since we haven't gone out for bid, we don't know the exact cost of construction.
okay, and our portion's 93 of that.
Yeah, I seen the date here, that's all good, but Mel has given us some brief updates through weekly reports, we've talked. This thing's kind of just been, the last I seen it was back in review.
FDP permitting.
Yes, it's in permitting, because I guess my big question is, when is this going to?
We've got
Where
the,
we at?
we've got the
Process.
bid documents ready, the invitation to bid. We're just waiting for FDEP to give the okay.
What do you-
The environmental consultant I talked to this morning, she thought that it'd be in the next 2-3 weeks, so we'd have the final approval.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions from the table?
I haven't seen that. That wasn't in my packet, actually.
It was just
It would help, I think, Your Honor. At one time, we had budgeted amount of money to help with this grant, like $90-some thousand, which is in the document. And we also had budgeted a lot of money for boat ramp repairs. So have some of those repairs been transferred to this grant side of it, or is that still separate completely?
You mean the seawall repairs?
Right.
So we included the seawall repairs in the construction drawing, so that can be done as part of the construction work. But the amount of the actual grant didn't change. So what FWC said was that if any funds are remaining after the expansion, it can be applied toward the repairs. It just really is gonna depend on what the bids come out to.
Yeah, you said, now that you brought that up, not to get too, but it's been a while, but we were gonna do both of these in tandem,
Yes.
the grant, the expansion, fixing, because we had set aside the other 800,000 from the funds. And we had some preliminary numbers, that were thrown around in the 1.4, 1.3, 1.4, it was the whole thing, but we're seeing the bid. But the DEP permit that you're applying for is for the total boat ramp project?
Yes,
For the repairs, the extension, everything?
yeah, it would include the entire scope of the seawall repairs and the
You
expansion.
show the seawall repairs is separate.
Yeah,
And it's all gonna be bid together because you're gonna save on
Yes.
mobilization costs by having the same
that's all
contractor.
still going the same.
But I do believe the decision was to proceed with the steel seawall, so that would, that was one of the decisions, I'm not sure, maybe last summer, and so that,
The boat ramp was the main thing, boat ramp and the,
yes,
floating area.
Yeah,
And then after that, you're gonna have another line item for the sea rolls.
yes. So, yeah, in the bid documents we have put together, they're gonna have a different line items for the seawall repairs on the north side, seawall repairs on the south side, and then the actual expansion part it'll all be listed separate.
yeah, I knew it had to be separate because the expansion is a grant, and so
Correct.
what we were doing. But back to the point, you say 2 or 3 weeks, you're thinking,
That's what we're thinking.
That's what
she
you're
said.
hearing?
I mean, it was already permitted once, it shouldn't be, in theory.
So is approving this amendment going to slow down the repairs? Is it going to speed up the repairs, or is it going to have no effect on how long it's going to take for us to get this work started?
Well, the amendment has to be approved before we can even get started and put it out to bid, so if it's.
So it's not a matter of time, it's just you need permission to.
Yes.
to proceed.
yeah, the
We'll need this
amendment,
approved in the
The original
permit.
contract, we're past, what's happened.
Correct. But to answer that really is, if they come back and the boat ramp costs us $1.1 million, there is gonna be no repairs unless we put some of our money into
A
it.
budget, well, we have a budget amendment.
Correct. That's right. Yeah.
And the term of the lease is how long?
We just discussed this, do you remember what it was?
We
Uh,
bumped, we
oh,
bumped to 2045?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it was,
Well,
I think it's 20 years.
was that one?
again, it's got the condition in here, following the term of the agreement, the recipient shall repay any progress funds received for the project for failure to maintain the project site as a public boating access facility according to the terms and conditions herein for a period of 20 years. Do we have 20 years after
Yes,
2027?
Was it?
we stretched it, it was originally gonna end in 2030 something, and then we
We had to push it out.
it's with the St. Joe Company.
Well, that was just a quick read. Like I said,
Yeah.
I didn't have, for whatever reason, I didn't have that.
Yeah, we're good there. Okay, any other questions? Do you have a motion to move on it?
I'll make a motion that we approve this budget amendment for $1,080,301 with a city cost share of $93,470.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Tammy, take the roll.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Could we have them explain one more thing Now that we got that over, we've been notified that the Fourth Street Stormwater Project, I had put in the weekly report something about the 18-inch pipe being reduced to 12-inch, and the difference might be a wash or close to it. But when it comes to the pipe, that is correct, but there are other modifications like the riser, which does cost money. This is like $9,387.10. That is under my approval authority, but I thought in the interest of saving time, seeing as Anchor is here, they could explain the whole thing to you so that we can move on.
So if you recall, the Fourth Street Stormwater Project was our part of our low-hanging fruit of the overall larger stormwater study. And so Anchor got involved and put it out for bid, put out the original design, created by AppCon, anyway. But we put it out for bid, so we didn't do a survey. They had a survey, but their survey was really intended for the overall stormwater design. It really wasn't. Is AppCon right now?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Theirs was intended for an overall stormwater evaluation. It really wasn't intended for this kind of construction project. Unfortunately, we didn't realize that until we got into the project. Anchor did locate some of the utilities, but several others have popped up. This change order is related to that. One of the costs is a riser. Basically, they had to drop the stormwater in order to get underneath a water main that runs parallel to Florida. They also had to make adjustments in the stormwater catch basins, like they had to core out some larger holes in the catch basins. There was also a modification to the pipe size. This particular change has more to do with trying to get under the potable water and over the sanitary sewer. This is what I believe to be the last change order on this project. They're waiting on us now to give approval or denial of this. I've looked at it. I don't really see any other way around it. I do believe that the project will still function as intended. We're going to actually go out there right after this meeting and just double check, because I've heard there's some concerns about the height of the inlets. So we're going to check that, but I do believe that this is the last change order for this project. I think it is necessary, and therefore we have compared the cost to their original bid and with other bids that we have received for similar projects, and they're in line with what we'd anticipate.
Okay, this is a change order for 4th Street from mainland line, and they're currently doing that job on 4th Street. Any questions from the audience? Anybody? Project currently going on. Anything from the table?
Yeah, I know it's in Mel's jurisdiction to approve it, but, so we just had 3 change orders. Mel brought them to us because of the last meeting, right? Something in there around 23,000. I don't have the numbers with me. It was 23, 24, and then, so this is an additional 9.
Yes. It makes you feel any better. If you would have paid for a full design, survey, and everything else, you wouldn't be in a much different spot.
And you would have spent that 40,000.
Yeah.
So if it makes you feel any better, you're about where you would have started.
Yeah.
Things happen, but it's another 9.
You were right, Jason, 24,000
Yes.
at the last meeting.
That's correct.
You get underground and all of a sudden everything changes.
Yeah, with an existing, it'd be one thing if it was a brand new community, but anytime you go in and start doing repair work within an existing city, and you have the older infrastructure and that kind of thing, you do run into.
You never know until you start moving dirt, and that's why I hope what you just said, this is the last change order, I hope that's true. But, you know.
Well, they're close enough to completion, that's where it should be.
They're right there.
Yeah, and you weren't here at the last meeting, but that was some of my concerns. It was explained to me by Mel that y'all use some AppCon. I'm just more, I know things, it just seems like things are always more than they should. Hope we could get to closer to reality.
We just need to remember that during budget season. That's why our city engineers and our contractors are known to want to put in a 10 to 15% air bar.
We had
These kinds-
one or two
these
that
kinds
were,
of things
that were
happen.
under the,
Yeah.
so I
This
guess
may
one
be
win,
getting
two
better.
losers. All right, so it's in the authority of the city administrator, he's updated us and the public, and we'll go from there.
And thank you.
At least I can do it.
All right, we got a lot of changes on this agenda going on left and right here. The lot split on 515th Street, that is a change from a lot split to a plat. So that can be done through the city and that'll be done that way. So we're gonna get move on from that. Number 4 is solid waste RFQ evaluation. Mr. Mel?
Thanks, Your Honor. The city did circulate a request for qualifications for sanitation services back in February. We did receive 4 proposals, and the city council members did their due diligence and scored the submittals, and those were averaged and came out with the following point number on a 500-point scale. Waste Management 454, Waste Pro at 452, Coastal Waste and Recycling 412, and Express Disposal 371. At this point, the council can go ahead and award the bid, but of course, the notice to proceed, that sort of thing is not even a thought at this point. What happens next when it comes to the sanitation is that our city staff will negotiate with the awardee of this particular thing. And then we will discuss the level of service, and based on the level of service, then Waste Management and the city will come into an agreement on what the cost will be. Once that cost and level of service is determined, that's brought back to the city council. The council can either reject it, or we can go ahead and move forward. That'll be a council decision at some point in the future. That's all I have, Your Honor.
We open to the public, any comments from the public on the waste RFQ? Solid waste RFQ.
Lisa Logan, Mexico Beach. I thought the plan was to, it's very odd to see you over on this side, I'm sorry, it throws me off.
Sorry to throw you off.
I thought the plan was to gather the information until the end of the year and then proceed to decide whether or not you wanted to get outsourcing information. How can you get quotes now with the global unrest that will probably affect costs way into the year, and have those pricings remain set? I mean, I thought the plan was to wait, so I'm just asking.
Good. Any other questions? From the public? You gotta move to the table. I'll address Mrs. Logan's question there. Realize it or not, we're about 6 months away from budgeting. So that's why. We need to know what we're gonna do budgeting in our 27, so this is a good time to get started. There's no commitment from the council other than get information. That's where we're at.
There were also no budget figures in the proposals. There were a list, there were a laundry list of services, but there were no costs, because we're not considering costs right now.
Yeah, and Lisa, just to I just want the public to know, yeah, it was agreed that we were gonna let this system run, but this is merely, it's an RFQ qualification.
That's it.
Just in case we decide to move forward, we've got somebody that we can.
Right.
One is the winner of the RFQ. and
That
then-
we talked to.
That you talked to, that's correct.
So that's a great point. Let me pull on that thread for a second. So, for those of you who didn't read the council agenda for today, there was a tiny, small difference between number 1 and number 2. I mean, it's in the margin of error if you want to get scientific about it. So, do we legally have to choose one, but once we actually ask for costs later, can we talk to all of them? How does that work?
No, if you've gone out for request for qualifications, then you negotiate with the, one you award the RFQ to. In other words, if that's number one, based upon your numbers, then that's who you negotiate with. You would not negotiate with the other, participant.
Until you satisfy your questions and answers.
Right.
Well, you would have to negotiate with number one first. If you reach an impasse on number one, then you move to number two.
I see.
Okay, but you don't broaden it out to everybody.
Okay, and can the council always preserve the option to just throw it out and start over and do RFQs in
Yeah, you
6
can
months?
reject all the RFQs and start over.
Keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah. And at some point in time, instead of an RFQ, you could convert it to an RFP where you actually get numbers.
So hopefully we didn't depress all you trash guys. But that's the system, that's how it works.
So if you all are going to proceed with number one, to at least negotiate with number one, you'd want to accept Waste Management as the highest bidder on the RFQ, but not engage in any conversation with them until whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we still need a vote today to make a selection.
If you're going to accept the RFQ the way it is, that's correct.
Any other questions at the table? If not, we need a motion to move forward.
I make a motion, we wrote the RFQ to Waste Management.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second, take the roll, Tammy, please.
Okay, Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Next thing on the agenda is lobbying service.
In a similar line of thought, we, on the city level, did circulate requests for qualifications for lobbying services. That was also done in February. We did receive 7 proposals, and the council once again did their due diligence and scored each of the 7 submittals. The 3 categories that were included were qualifications, experience, and technical approach. The 5 scores were average and came up with a resulting 500-point scale. I'm not going to read all 7 of them, but the Southern Group of Florida at 447 was the highest vote getter. Back to you, Your Honor.
So based on that, we're going to head and open to the public for the lobbying service RFQ that we put out. Any comment from the audience? Yes, sir, come on up.
Kurt, Mexico Beach, this RFQ and what we just discussed, and just
You
quickly.
just proved you could walk and talk.
Well, I can, maybe I'm supposed to wait till I get to the podium, but I'll try and make it faster. With these RFQs, competition is always a good thing. It seems what we're doing here, and the difference was a spread of 3 points. That's really tight. Keep the competition going. It's like, okay, out of the 4, out of the 7, pick 2 winners, keep them competing. If I know that I won and no one else is really being considered now, my pencil is not going to be as sharp as it is if I know someone else is still competing with me. Just a thought going forward.
Thank you.
Hope that made sense.
Anybody else want to make any comments in the audience? Move to the table. Council?
I think that is a good point that he just brought up, because look how closely the scores are on these 3. So would we be obligated to only have the discussion with the first group, the Southern group?
Yeah,
Just start.
Okay.
that's the, if you award the RFQ to an individual.
But then if they exceeded what we want to pay, we could move to the second? Because we have a certain amount,
If
50,000.
you do not approve the methodology or the numbers, or move that right at the top, then you'd reject it and go back to the individual companies and talk with them, or put out an RFP to get dollars.
Yeah, taken away, you have to go through the same formality as.
But again, remember, the RFQ is intended to get the best qualified to then do the negotiation. So, you're not really negotiating with them as far as cost, you're just determining who you think is the best qualified to do the job.
Okay, so the action we're asking for is to go ahead and turn this over to, award it. And go ahead and turn it over to the city staff to negotiate a contract. A standard contract. They know that we've already budgeted 50,000, so that's the limit. Any questions at the table?
Can we talk a little bit about why we chose or why we scored the way we scored? Can we do that?
I mean, you all can talk about whatever you want.
Why we scored the way we scored?
Well, I just, so I keep notes on these types of scores and so I can always refer back to them later. But, I mean, I just wanted to throw out there some of the reasons why I favored one group over the other. I believe most of these groups, I believe all of these groups that responded to the RFQ presented to us their qualifications for how well they can obtain money for us from Tallahassee, the state government. Nearly all of them, I think all but one of them are either headquartered in Tallahassee or are actually in Tallahassee. I took a little bit of a different approach because of where we are as a city next to the Air Force Base. And we have aging infrastructure. We've been talking about having to replace the sewer and water that goes 20 miles through Tyndall. I believe we try to be a good neighbor to our Air Force neighbors next door, but we sometimes need to ask them for help as well. So we ask them to be a good neighbor to us in addition to us being a good neighbor to them. So one of the reasons that so my top vote getter was Continental Strategy. Because while they're a relatively new firm, they've been around for 5 years, only 5 years, they've got some serious heavy hitters at the federal level. And so I chose to look at these companies, not only do they, for their ability to have contacts in Tallahassee, but their contacts in Washington. And I don't know if anybody noticed, there's some of the principals that were named for Continental Strategy, but there's one lady by the name of Wiles. And those of you who understand, who recognize the name Wiles, she's the daughter of White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. And so, regardless of what your politics are, Democrat or Republican, I think it would be wonderful to have contact with somebody actually in the White House. So that's why I scored Continental Strategy a little bit higher than some of the other ones, because they actually have a DC office. Some of these other firms also have a DC office, but not all of them do. So, since we're not allowed to talk about this outside of this table, I thought I would share some of my scoring criteria.
Okay. Anything else at the table? No need to follow, or if you want to, you can. It's up to you. Any other comments from the table? Our bidder was Southern Group. Do we have a motion to move forward?
I make a motion we award the RFQ to Southern Group of Florida.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Ordinance 882, beach vending, second reading.
Yes, Your Honor, the ordinance 882 has not had any adjustments or changes since the last meeting. So this is done because of the insurance inequities about no non-motorized vendors for the beach. So we believe that this particular change in the ordinance does take care of that issue. So we would recommend that the city go ahead and proceed.
Okay, we have no changes from the original first reading, we're on the second reading, we have a motion to read ordinance 882.
I make a motion that we continue with the second reading of ordinance 882.
I'll second it.
Motion to take the roll, please.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Read when you're ready, please.
Ordinance 882, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending section 114.08 of the Code of Ordinances, codified portions of ordinance number 688 and 852, providing for repealer, codification, severability, and an effective date.
Go ahead and open to the public. Any comments from the public on the ordinance? We'll close the public discussion at the table. I think City Administrator already pointed out this second reading, the only change, the only thing on the first one was that we changed it because of having a mower on something that they would have to rent out versus not, the insurance difference. The motion to move forward?
I'll make a motion that we accept ordinance 882, beach vending ordinance, adjusting the insurance requirements.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Take a roll, please.
Okay. Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Moving on to number 7, ordinance 884, personal policy update, second reading. Mr. Mel?
Yes, ordinance 884, of course, the ordinance language hasn't changed, but we did make a minor addition to the policy itself, which starts on page 39 of the new policy. This has to do with personal cell phone use. We want to make sure that the employees remain attentive to their job duties and that personal cell phone use is prohibited while performing job duties, assisting the public, operating of vehicles and equipment, and other safety-sensitive positions. You know, we want to make sure that the employees are acting in a safe manner at all times. And when it comes to the city-issued cell phone use, the city cell phones are for official business only and not used for personal use at all. And headphones and earbuds, you may have seen some of the employees around town that might have the headphones that entirely cover their ears. We want to make sure that we have some language in this policy that we can do away with those particular type of headphones. Because when you've got your ears completely covered and you're operating equipment, you're on the back of a sanitation truck, you cannot hear what's going on around you. So this again allows them to do something else like an earbud, one of two for your ears, and that is okay, but we want to make sure that you hear your surroundings, which could impact your health and that of the public. So those are the only changes, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, do we have a motion to read ordinance 884?
So I guess I want to address something that Mr. Mel just said. Can we make an exception for everything you just said about the head hugger earphones for the lawnmowers? Because the lawnmowers, they wear,
Oh, absolutely, those are safety.
yeah, those are safety, but what happens if they want to listen to music while they're mowing our right-of-ways all day, and they use it not only for music, but also for ear safety?
Well, if it's for the safety of your surroundings, and that'd be okay.
Okay. Do we need to make that explicit in the update to allow the lawnmowers to have the head huggers for safety? Or
One thing I would note on that though, if the city is providing the hearing protection and it's a certain quality hearing protection, then you have no guarantee whether or not a headphone would provide that same kind of hearing protection. So that's something to consider, is whether or not you want to let them use their own personal headphones if they really don't provide the same kind of hearing protection as what the city would otherwise provide in a hearing protection.
So what we're suggesting is to use only the city approved.
You know, the city would have to approve what they do, yeah.
I had one other thing too. We do have an employee that has requested on his own time his 15-minute break. And, you know, we kind of all know him as the dancing sanitation worker, but he's requesting that if he could use his earbuds when he's doing his 15-minute break, and he would be at least, 5 feet away from the right-of-way. That was something that he has requested of us to see if he can do that. I don't know whether that would fall into this employee handbook or not. It's not really.
Who'd make a request?
Okay.
Who'd make a request?
Who?
Did you a written request or?
It was verbal. I mean, he's approached me in public about that. It was decided it wasn't safe for him to do that on the garbage truck. But then he said, what if it's my own time? This is something that brings him joy, and I think it brings joy to some of the people that observe him. But he was asking, would he be allowed to, on his break of 15 minutes, could he use his earbuds and, do his dance that he likes to do, and it would be safe because it would be, he said, 5 feet beyond the right-of-way.
According to the policy, I think maybe the city administrator needs to take what you just said and address that with that employee. And see
Yeah,
what-
I mean, that would kind of be like the smoking, it's prohibited on the city property or city vehicles, but on their 15-minute break, they're allowed to do that. So I would assume on the 15-minute break, since it's being prohibited while they're working on the machinery or whatnot, while they're on their 15-minute break, the headphones can go on, they can listen to all the music they want, and then 15 minutes are over, they go back to work.
Yeah, those type of deals, I'm not pointing, Ms. Hamlin, I'm not pointing you out, but council, me included, if we hear those things, let's bring it to the city administrator and have them handle that stuff.
Well, it's on page 40, that second line on page 40.
Yeah, it says headphones and earbuds may be used during scheduled breaks and meal periods in non-public areas.
Oh, okay, so then we got it. So that gives him permission to do
Now,
it.
your point though is technically the right-of-way would be a public area, so
But he's saying he'd be 5 feet away from
if
the
he'd be
right-of-way.
off the right-of-way, then it'd be non-public,
Okay, so he would be allowed to do that on his,
according to this
on his
one.
break, okay?
All right. Do we have a motion to read?
I'll make a motion, we read ordinance 884.
I'll second it.
Take a roll, please.
Mr. Fasaki?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Ordinance 884, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, relating to personnel policies of the city, amending ordinance number 798 and all prior ordinances, resolutions, motions, or other actions pertaining to city personnel policies, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Ready to open to the public? Excuse me. Any comment from the public? Then close it, public, move to the table, any discussion on the table for personnel policy? The only update was, from the first reading was, page 39, which had to do with cell phones and headphones.
I think it was an excellent idea to ask Prosper, the HR people, to be a resource to
Oh,
organize this.
absolutely.
That was a great idea.
Absolutely. Well done, those staff. Do we have a motion to approve or deny?
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 884.
I'll second it.
A motion second, take a roll, please.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Fasaki?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. A notebook in hand, we were ready to move on to citizen comments. Anybody, citizen comments? Ms. John, come on up.
I'll wait till we get to the election.
Well, I
I
can't-
walk and talk too.
You can walk and talk.
I won't close my eyes. Mayor, council,
John Harrell, representing the Special Events Committee of Mexico Beach Incorporated. Pardon me while I put these glasses on. I'm here to talk about gumbo and the many thanks. I think we had a very successful gumbo cook-off. I don't know what the estimate of the crowds were, but it looked packed all day. We had beautiful weather, had a lot of help, and that's what I'm here is to thank people that helped us. As maybe the people at home do or don't know, I always mention it. The reason for the Special Events Committee is to raise money for our fireworks. Can't do it alone, and it's getting bigger, and that's great. First, we want to thank the Sheriff's Department. Lieutenant Williams did an outstanding job cooking all the hot dogs, all the sausages. He provided a trailer for our counter, our judges. He provided the hot dog trailer, plus security for the 2-3 days moving up as we were moving stuff in for the event. Chief Sandy Walker in the fire department, they took care of handling all the parking, and we had a little blip with electricity. Sandy was right there helping us try to rectify that. I'm sorry that Sam has left, because the Public Works Department, Sam and his crew were wonderful. I asked for 4 people to help us set out, and I mean, they came out on Friday in mass to help us set up, which made it go so much quicker. A special thanks to Pam and Steve. They were there all day handling the trash. Steve helped with the little electrical problem that we had. They stayed to the end, helped us break down and pack things away. Those two really went out. The CDC, Kimberly, and her crew over there with helping with advertising an event leading up to it and even after the event. Of course, I always give a special shout out to Kathy Crum. She's our utility player. Whatever needs to be done, ticket sales, running money, whatever, Kathy says, what can I do? She's just super. Shell Shack, again, they supplied us with ice for the whole event. They helped with tickets. A little shout out to Forgotten Coast Golf Carts. You may have noticed they supplied 3 golf carts for free shuttles. So we didn't have to have parking or people walking down 98, which I know is a concern, safety reasons. Everyone that donated, the desserts, oh my gosh, Bayside Bakery and Port St. Joe, they gave so much. They did a great job. El Governor, the gift baskets, using their facilities. They also ran their own shuttle. To all the volunteers that helped us, thank you. All the businesses that donated for the gift baskets and the raffle was great. We also want to thank 2 participants, Cal Parker, Randy Howe. They won. They donated their money back to the special events, which we thought was just super, just super. Again, it's to raise money for the fireworks. We're hoping to have a really special show since it's the 250th anniversary. Don't forget, well, you know it, our 5K run's coming up. We need all the runners we can get. Again, we want to thank everybody that helped us, and I hope everybody had a good time there. It was a lot of fun, good community fellowship, I would call it. And people came from all over, not just here in Mexico Beach. So again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, John. Thank your Special Events Committee for what they do. You know, there's a lot of things in our city that we take for granted. I hope that's not one of them we take for granted, because that could stop right away. And they carry it on year to year, and it's only supported by what we do, events and donations. That's it. So just keep that in mind. Any other citizens' comments? All right. We're moving on to staff comments and city administrator.
Thank you, Your Honor. Number one, when it comes to working with FEMA, we were very close on a couple of projects of getting some finalizations done. We were down to maybe a week or two to get the final approval for the increase in the cost for the jetty, and we were confident that was going to go down. And we were also very close to getting the final approvals for the pier done as well. You may recall I've said that we're looking at April to maybe get to that point. Well, here it is March, and April's just next month, but FEMA sent out a notification that as of February the 22nd, they will cease all non-essential activities and focus exclusively on immediate disaster response. So that means we're just playing the waiting game right now when it comes to those final approvals. Hopefully, once they fire back up, it won't take long. The next item, political signs. You may notice there's some political signs around the city, but we have a requirement that you cannot have them out past the 90 days previous, and got to be taken down 10 days afterwards. Ms. Hamilton, on behalf of the city, sent an excellent email to the main candidate to let him know that we have these requirements. And we're going to give them a couple of days to take all the signs down. Hasn't happened. So Kathy, our code enforcement officer, is back in the office today, and she and I had a conversation this morning. She is on sign plucking duty today. So if she does nothing else, signs have got to be here. All right, Amnesty Day. I found out that the county's Amnesty Day is the 17th and 18th of April, and of course we kind of join that particular date so that we don't have to pay, the fees to the dump. And we'll get some information out pretty soon about how we're going to work it with the city, whereas we'll pick up the items on those days and take it over ourselves. So look for that in the future. Parking update. We talked about this extensively at the last meeting. Where we are at this point. You know, when it comes to talking to people with a state agency, trying to find the right person is not always the most easy thing to do in the world. So trying to find someone from DOT to talk about parking is very difficult. We have narrowed it down, and Julie did a great job of, peeling back that onion, and she finally has a department that is going to help us out. Voicemails were made, so hopefully they return that soon, and we can talk about the right-of-ways and parking in Mexico Beach. And also, the mayor did make a request to DOT for that mysterious document to which Lisa Logan alluded at the last meeting. That was back in the 50s or 60s. So, and of course, when you make a request, that's not an overnight thing as well. So we're anxiously awaiting some answer from DOT. And the last thing I have is a particular lot split. I know that's a thing that people love to talk about here. You may recall that recently we did approve an area on Florida Avenue where there were 3 lots and they wanted to take it to 2. Directly behind that particular lot at 205 Florida Avenue, there is a request from the owner because there are 2 lots from the original plat that were combined at some point in the past. Now the owners wish to take it back to the original platted lots. So this is something that we can do administratively. I see no issues with it because we're following the original plat. That original plat was provided to the city. I've got it right here if you want to look at it. So I just thought I'd bring that up. So administratively, we'll go ahead and approve that. That's quite enough for today, Your Honor.
Okay. City Attorney?
Yes, sir. Just a couple things. I'm waiting on the old Duke Energy franchise just to compare it with what they've sent us the draft currently. That should come back to y'all at the next meeting, and that'll be ordinance number 883. So kind of got in the middle there, 882 and 884. Also, ironically, you all were talking at the last meeting, or Mr. Cox was, about me being gone. Before I had accepted the job here, or even knew I was gonna be asked to come here, about 2.5 years ago, I had agreed with my wife to take her on a week vacation. And it just happens that it's next meeting date, unfortunately. So, at the request of the mayor, I asked another attorney, John Grunback, in my office, who was here, to come down and sit in on this meeting, meet the mayor and Mel. And John has sat in on Parker meetings for me also, so he's aware of city business. And so don't do anything real controversial, but if it's all right with y'all, then John will be here at the next meeting.
Yeah, sure, good. Thank you for coming today, Tom, appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Any council comments?
I do have some. I was gonna ask Mel, have we had any more applicants for planning and zoning?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And I'm wondering if maybe we might want to revisit some of the applicants that have applied. I'm thinking, especially, I have two of them, especially our applicant who has property here. Of course, people that have property here pay a very large amount of money in taxes. He has stated that he only goes to his home state during holidays in the summer to be with the grandchildren. He has stated that he could even do Zoom meetings, you know, when he's not here. Those folks don't have an opportunity to be represented very much in our city. They can't run for city council, but I think that's a voice that needs to be heard as well, because there are many people that pay large sums of taxes here. And to allow that person to possibly be on the planning and zoning and just to be a little flexible for his ability to serve us, I think we should consider that. And then the other person I was thinking of is a person that is locally employed. On his resume, he said that he had experience with construction, has built his own home, and he comes highly recommended by a long-standing resident that is here that everybody greatly respects. So, you know, the fact that these folks have stepped up to the plate and have offered their services, you know, people are not beating the door down to come to planning and zoning. It's very time-consuming, and it takes a lot to offer your services for that. So I know we're just waiting for more people to come in, but we're not seeing that. And these two particular people, to me, sound like they could be ideal candidates. It could be very helpful. In the last planning and zoning meeting, we looked at the table, it looked pretty, you know, pretty empty. So I just wondered if we might want to revisit that and reconsider those folks.
Yeah, based on Mr. Hamilton's input there on the P&C, I had some conversation with the city administrator about this myself. It's been 2 weeks and we haven't received any. So I believe we did take 3 of them, we evaluated 2 of them, and the one we left standing. I forget his name right off the top of my head.
We have Mr.
The guy that built his own home.
Oh,
That is Mr. Bacon.
yeah.
Yeah, and I thought we kind of left the door open.
Yeah, we left the door open on that. We're currently sitting at 4, and we need 5.
We do.
So it's been 2 weeks, we haven't received any other. Is this something we want to move forward on, get them on and go from there, have them start learning?
So, so I guess I want to address these 2 remaining candidates separately. Yes, Mr. Bacon, let's make an evaluation as to whether, or a vote. He's the gentleman here locally. I'll just say it again, I said it at the last meeting. Mr. Werfel's the one who has requested Zoom meetings when he's not in town. So outside of council, I'm a remote employee. I spend all day on Zoom meetings. It is something we can do. My company has a remote workforce of 400 people. We contribute greatly. I would encourage the city to find a way to have P&Z members dial in via Zoom.
Good.
No, just my comments on that. We said the one guy that built his own house, I could forget his name again. But, you know, it might have been a little thin, but I thought about it afterwards, and we've given other people opportunities.
Yep.
And I'm glad you brought it up. I think it would be wise and beneficial to get him installed. We had a great lengthy discussion about the Zoom, and the attorney gave us some input on that. I don't think that's.
Yeah, I'm on a hold on the Zoom.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the personal qualifications. Is it okay if we go ahead and vote one in, if we get a recommendation to do that?
If you have a motion, then
Okay. Can I just say one more thing about the other
Yeah.
applicant? I mean, that person is someone who can represent property owners that don't stay here all the time. And that's quite a few people. They put a lot of money into the taxes here, but there's no representation of them. That would be a way to allow that. He can't run for city council because he's not a full-time resident. But that is a window that we could offer those folks that are interested, like this particular person, to, you know, to come in and give some say-so that would possibly help that group of people as well.
Well, can I say this? Can we, I think we're consensus, can we install the one to give us the 5-member board, and I'll still leave the door open for Mr. Warford. If we would like to have more applicants, I mean, we still have I thought there was a legal opinion on.
yes, sir, there's Attorney General opinions about whether or not in a non-emergency situation for the person having basically some physical issues, and in the current non-emergency state, that they would not be counted as a part of the quorum, nor would they be allowed to vote. So the only thing I could suggest maybe is that we petition for an updated Attorney General opinion in light of what Mr. Fasagi is talking about. I mean, times have changed. It's a different environment now. And whether or not the Attorney General opinion would change, I don't know. But if you all would authorize it and want me to request it, then we could certainly request it.
Well, based on our last meeting, how we ended it, we still had one on the table, it was Mr. Bacon. Is there a motion over the last 2 weeks, understanding where we are and how the P&Z currently looks, is there a motion to move forward with?
I make a motion that we approve Mr. Jeff Bacon to the Planning and Zoning Committee.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Now, for Mr. Werfel, let me ask another question. Is it possible for us to just assign Mr. Werfel as a permanent alternate for now?
Well, you could assign him as an alternate, and but if he were to step up to be determined in the quorum or not, he would not count,
Fair
and he
enough.
would not be able to vote.
He'd not be able to vote. So if he's not able to vote, then we just appoint him as an alternate, and then we'll see what the future holds, whether we have a future council opening, or if Mr. Werfel ends up moving here permanently full-time. We just kick that can down the road, but we can still
Well, he could always
separate
come
from a pending Attorney General request, which I support. Maybe we just make him an alternate.
Yeah, I have no problem whatsoever with the person full-time. I have a problem for the future, as you said. Do we have 5 people standing on the P&Z that are all Zooming? I just don't wanna go there.
Oh, I don't, so I'm not even advocating for that, a P&Z quorum via Zoom, yeah, that I'm not advocating for.
So basically, you're saying the only way this is you put him as an alternate,
And then
and he either shows up or he doesn't. The Zoom has got to be like, it's not part of the
We'd have
conversation. If he's not here, there's no
if he's not here, then
reaching
he's not
in on
here.
Zoom.
And we let the city staff figure out the Zoom later. That's a separate issue. But I would want to preserve the option for him to, as an alternate, dial in via Zoom and listen in, and he can't vote because he's an alternate.
He can't vote, and he can't be counted for a quorum if he were to step up to the
Agreed.
to the main 5.
It would just be a citizen.
I think we're talking about the operation versus the person. I really
Okay.
do. And I think operationally, I'm not sure if we want to enter into this.
Okay.
I'm asking. I mean, I don't make the vote, I'm giving my opinion.
And once again, what were you saying about contacting the Attorney General?
if you all authorize it, then I can contact the Attorney General's office, request a formal opinion, given that these opinions that I'm referring to are older. You know, in today's world, times have changed, and perhaps the opinion of the Attorney General will have changed.
Can we at least agree on that?
Yeah,
Authorize the attorney.
I would like to.
Do we wanna go? One, we'll obviously spend a few bucks finding that opinion, and sometimes it tells me that it might be a good opinion to find out, but what if we do, and do we really wanna go down that road of, if it is legal and something's approved today or 2, 3 years, you know, somebody,
Well,
I mean, it's nothing against the purpose. You need to be, I mean, he was honest in his application. It's gonna be gone 6 months a year. But I do believe you need to be here in the room in a meeting, at a board meeting of this. I know business and stuff runs with Zoom and stuff, but this is a whole different, body.
so I don't disagree with anything you just said, Jason, and with the exception of, I think everybody needs to be in the room if they're voting. If they're not voting, then that's where I think we could open up the Zoom ecosystem, if you will. That's all I'm saying. So if Mr. Werfel stays an alternate, he can't vote, whether he's here in the room or he's in Wisconsin on Zoom.
Well, if the issue is just having him view what's going on, to be familiar with it, then he can look at the videos. I mean, I don't.
But by having him as even if we call it a permanent alternate, he can bring his views of maybe the people that he would represent, which would be possibly the property owners that, like I said, pay large taxes to be here, but, you know, they're not represented in any way. They can't be represented on the city council because they're not full-time residents. But by him being on the P&Z, he could represent them and their concerns, because there's no way for them to really be represented.
Well, he could certainly do that for the 6 months he's here. He could come to every P&Z meeting and talk about that stuff. That's up to y'all, though. If y'all, one, want to consider that, or two, consider the opinion, however y'all want to do it.
All right, if there's a motion to do something other than what we did 2 weeks ago, we gotta move on.
So how would we present that motion?
I don't know. I don't know that I have a motion to offer.
What are your thoughts, Tim?
You know, if you're talking about making Mr. Werfel an alternate, and of course, again, traditionally, alternates have moved into the primary role, so you have to consider the domino effect of that. But if you're considering that, and there's no prohibition against him being a resident and being on the P&Z, which I'm not aware of. Mel, I'm assuming there's no requirement he be a resident, a voter, in order to be on the P&Z.
That's what I'm trying to look up even as we speak, but I'm having much luck here.
Yeah, I've not looked at that issue, Ms. Hampton, but if that's not a requirement, then you can make that motion recognizing that at least in the near term, for the time he's here on Zoom, he would not count as part of a quorum and not count.
I don't think we have enough legal information right to make that decision.
It does say that each member shall live within the city limits.
Okay, well then that's.
Quick FYI, this is my primary residence.
Again,
So,
that's up to y'all how you want to do it, but I'm just telling you that if he were to be considered for part of the quorum, he couldn't be while he's on Zoom, and he could not vote while he was on Zoom.
Right, and I don't want to change the rules for P&Z members, right? We still have the rule that if you miss 3 meetings in a row, you're done.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I was about to bring up.
but if he's in attendance in Zoom, he's not missing.
Well, we're not.
But he can be excused by the chair. Being out of town can be excused.
Okay.
I mean, as far as representation is concerned, don't all y'all represent those bodies that you're talking about, thinking that they don't have representation?
All right, Other than we've already made a decision, if there's not a motion, let's move on. What do we have?
You know, I don't exactly know how to make a motion. I'm sorry.
Then I guess we don't have
We can't
one.
make a motion.
Okay.
I don't have a motion to make.
All right. Any other, council comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring one thing up. I know, I had gotten an email, from the CDC president, and I just wanted to, once again, thank the CDC, Kimberly Schoaf, and, the board for stepping forward and, providing the $145,000 plus for the boardwalk at Sunset Park. I think she does a lot for the city. I think it's imperative, I'll be moving on, but that the city, and I've said this before, and the CDC work in tandem, on projects and things to get things done. They have an avenue of money to tap, and, they do a lot to promote Mexico Beach and the businesses here, not just heads and beds. I mean, I know that's what they're talking about, but they do a lot to promote business in Mexico Beach, and just wanted to thank them for their work and what they do, and especially bringing the money to the table.
And if I can just follow on to that, the other tourist development councils in Bay County are in the news right now for all the wrong reasons. And our Mexico Beach Tourism Center is not in the news for the wrong reasons. In fact, the only time they've been in the news recently was for the right reason, that they passed their audit with flying colors in 48 hours. There's no problems with their budget. I only wish the rest of our county had less drama.
So,
Any other comment?
going back to Jason with the CDC, weren't you the representative? So that means that, and they usually choose their own person, so that's something they'll need to think about.
Yeah, I think at the last board meeting, if you read the minutes, it's, they're kind of in the process. They want a smooth transition. Obviously, I'm not part of that process. I told them, obviously, it's like, you're not pushing me out early, are you? But no, they're gonna make some decisions and try to make it a smooth transition from my last meeting. They would like somebody installed in the transition, and also as for the public and the people that live here, the businesses, they do have some openings on the board. I would highly encourage anybody that's fits their qualifications for these seats to, come forward. They do need some more board members. Some people are retiring, stepping out, moving away.
And that also is a voluntary.
Yes, it's voluntary, but anyway.
The council will be making all those decisions on the 28th of April, so think about it.
Our last meeting was the 20th, might as well be the 21st.
14th. The election is the 21st, I think.
Election is the 21st, that's on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, well, actually, there is no election, am I right?
There is no.
But there isn't, but there still has to be a.
Yeah, for us.
Formal.
Yeah, so the 14th would be the last meeting, next meeting is the 28th.
Okay, there is
So
a.
you're 14th.
I was thinking it was that week, but there is, that second meeting is after.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, in between the two. Okay, I really don't have any comments. I only want to make sure that the council, I just made some notes on this parking. I know that Mel had mentioned the parking. We're obviously going to have to be making a decision here pretty quick once we get this information from requests, what it looks like and all that like that. I encourage the council to take a look at that, see what past practices have been, what areas are currently parked in, and really get a good assessment of the city so that we can make the right decision moving forward. If it is a right-of-way, and I believe it is a right-of-way owned by the state of 100 feet, basically through Mexico Beach, 50 feet on each side from the center of the road. There's obviously areas that are being parked on right now, and I'm okay with that, but I want to make sure safety-wise, we're not taking on the responsibility we have to. So take a look at the map that's in Mel's office. I made some notes on it. just the things that I know, like there's parking at Crazy Beach Pizza, there's parking at the hotel. There's some areas that we park on right now that kind of past practice. Do we accept them, do we not? Rather than just making a sign that says no parking all the way through Mexico Beach. So, we have to have some consideration. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah, 2 hours wasn't bad.